Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. You ready to unlock some serious creative firepower with me today?
I am, absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. I am pumped for this one. We are going to be diving into the original mindset, embrace, innovate, and lead. Have you had a chance to look it over?
Yeah, I really connected with this one. I think there's some great stuff in here.
I think so too. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of our listeners. And what's really cool is it lays out this journey of self-discovery and creative empowerment and leadership in like 3 clear parts.
Yeah, I think that's what's so great about it is it's really digestible. Sometimes these kinds of books can feel overwhelming, but this one, it kind of breaks it down into these manageable steps.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so part 1. We're tackling embracing your unique voice. And right away, the book kind of hits you with this truth, right? This pressure to conform.
Yeah. It's so real, though.
Oh my gosh. It is. It's like everywhere you turn, there's this expectation to fit into a certain mold.
And it's not even just one mold, right? It's like different molds depending on who you're with, where you are.
Yes, exactly. And what I found fascinating was how the book breaks down the sources of that pressure.
Yeah, it's not always coming from where you think, right?
Totally. Like, I think we automatically think social media, right?
Yeah.
But it goes so much deeper than that.
Absolutely. It starts with like our families and friends. They obviously love us and want the best for us. But sometimes their expectations can feel a little...
Like a box.
Yeah, exactly. Like a box.
Yeah, and then you layer on the whole media landscape, right?
Oh, yeah. Advertising, the carefully curated lives we see on social media, it's constantly bombarding us with this image of perfection.
Yes, this constant comparison game.
And it can make us feel like we're not enough, right? Like we're not doing enough or not being enough.
That's exactly it. But what I appreciate about this book is it doesn't just leave us feeling overwhelmed by all that noise. It actually offers some tools to deal with it.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. It's actually really empowering.
It is. And the first tool it introduces is mindfulness. Have you had a chance to practice mindfulness at all?
Yeah, I actually try to meditate every morning. Doesn't always happen, but...
Yeah, even just 5 minutes.
Right, even 5 minutes makes a difference.
It totally does.
Yeah.
So what does the book say about using mindfulness to deal with this pressure to conform?
Well, it goes beyond just saying, be mindful, right? It actually gives you specific techniques, like this body scan meditation.
Oh, yeah. I was curious about that. What is that exactly?
Well, it's basically this 5-minute exercise where you bring your attention to your body, like scanning from your head to your toes, and you notice any sensations, any tension, any tightness.
So you're kind of tuning in to how your body's feeling.
Right. Exactly. And the idea is that our bodies often hold on to stress and tension that we're not even aware of.
And this helps you identify that.
Yeah, and by becoming aware of these physical sensations, we can start to pinpoint where that pressure is coming from, and then we can make more conscious choices about how to respond to it.
So it's not about eliminating the pressure altogether. It's more about becoming aware of it so we can manage it.
Exactly. It's about having that awareness so we're not just reacting mindlessly.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So mindfulness is one tool. What else does the book offer?
Another big one is the power of saying no.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It can be really tough, especially for those of us who are people pleasers,
Yeah, like I don't want to let anyone down.
Right, exactly. But the book really emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries.
And it gives you permission to do that.
It does. It frames it as a way of protecting your time and energy. So you can focus on the things that are truly important to you.
And that's not selfish.
Yeah.
It's self-care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Okay, so mindfulness, saying no.
Right.
What else?
Well, the book also dives into the importance of understanding your unique voice.
This is where it starts to get really exciting, right?
Yeah, because it's about more than just your talents, right? It's about your values, your experiences, your whole story.
It's like piecing together the puzzle of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the book actually gives you an exercise to help you do that.
Oh, really? What kind of exercise?
Well, it has you list out your core values, the things that are most important to you. Then your proudest moments, the times you felt most alive.
Okay, I like that.
And then
it also has you list your biggest screw-ups,
yeah.
your failures.
Really? Why that?
Well, because those experiences have shaped you too, right?
Yeah.
They've taught you valuable lessons. They're part of your unique journey.
I never thought about it that way.
It's about owning your whole story, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I love that. Okay, so understanding our unique voice. Why is that so important?
Because in a world that's constantly telling us who we should be, it's easy to lose sight of who we actually are.
Yeah. And it's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others. especially in this age of social media.
Right. It's this constant barrage of highlight reels.
But this book reminds us that our unique voice is actually our superpower.
It's what sets us apart. It's what makes us special.
So instead of trying to fit in, we should be focusing on our strengths. Exactly. What are you naturally good at? What makes you come alive? When you focus on those things, you start to radiate a different kind of confidence.
And that's what people are drawn to.
It is. It's that authenticity that shines through.
Okay, so we've talked about mindfulness, setting boundaries, and identifying our strengths. What other gems does the book offer in this self-discovery journey?
Well, one that really stood out to me was the emphasis on self-compassion.
Oh, that's a big one. We can be so hard on ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we have this inner critic that's constantly berating us.
And it never shuts up.
Right. But the book encourages us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend.
Yeah. It's like that saying, you wouldn't talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself sometimes.
So true.
Yeah.
We need to be our own cheerleaders, not our own worst critics.
And I think that ties into the book's perspective on mistakes.
Right. Instead of viewing them as failures, it encourages us to reframe them as feedback loops.
So it's not, I messed up. It's, okay, what can I learn from this?
Exactly. It's about seeing mistakes as opportunities for growth.
That's such a powerful shift in mindset.
And then the book also encourages us to set realistic goals.
Mhm.
You know, it's great to be ambitious, but
Sometimes we set the bar way too high.
yeah, and then we end up feeling disappointed and discouraged.
So it's about breaking those big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly. It's about celebrating those small victories along the way.
And speaking of celebrating, the book also talks about tracking our progress and acknowledging those wins.
It's so important, right? It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to appreciate how far we've come.
It's like we're always focused on what's next instead of taking a moment to savor what we've already accomplished.
Right. So the book encourages us to keep a journal, a gratitude list, something to help us track those wins, big or small.
Because even those small wins can add up to big progress.
Exactly. They keep us motivated.
Yeah.
And they remind us that we're on the right track.
Okay, so tracking our progress, acknowledging our wins. What else?
Well, the book also stresses the importance of seeking feedback from others.
That can be a tough one.
It can be, but it can also be incredibly valuable.
It's about being open to different perspectives, right?
Yeah, it's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And that sometimes we need an outside perspective to help us see things more clearly.
So who should we be seeking feedback from?
Well, it could be anyone you trust and respect, right? A mentor, a coach, a colleague, a friend.
And they don't always have to agree with us?
No, not at all. In fact, sometimes the most valuable feedback comes from people who challenge our thinking.
It's about being open to hearing different viewpoints.
Exactly. And then finally, the book encourages us to practice gratitude.
Oh, I love that one.
Me too. It's so simple, but it can be so transformative.
It's about focusing on the good, even when things are tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the book suggests making it a daily practice, writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day.
It's like a little dose of positivity.
It is. It helps us shift our perspective.
It's like hitting the reset button on our mindset.
Exactly. So if we were to sum up this first part of the book,
Embracing your unique voice.
it's really about recognizing that self-discovery is an ongoing journey. It's about cultivating self-awareness, embracing our strengths, and learning to navigate the world with authenticity and compassion.
It's about saying, this is me and I'm owning it.
Exactly. And when we own our unique voice, we unlock a level of confidence and creativity that can truly transform our lives.
Now I'm even more excited to see how the book connects all this self-awareness to unleashing our creative potential.
That's where things get really interesting. Part 2 takes us into the realm of imagination and innovation with practical tools to tap into that creative spark that lives within all of us.
Okay, so we've done some serious soul searching with part 1, figuring out our unique voice and how to deal with all that external pressure to conform. But now, how do we actually unleash that creative potential hiding inside all of us?
I am ready to get those creative juices flowing. What about you?
Let's do it. Part 2 of the original mindset is all about that. It really dives into the nitty-gritty of how to make creativity happen. I'm so glad because I was a little worried it would just be like all that generic advice we've heard a million times, think outside the box.
No. This goes way deeper than that. It's not just about coming up with a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's about creating a space where those ideas can actually flourish.
Okay, so when I hear creative space, I automatically think of like having a dedicated art studio or something, like a physical space.
I think that's what most people think of. But the book takes it a step further. It's more about creating a mindset a way of being that allows creativity to flow naturally.
Hmm, I like that. But how do you actually do that? Like practically speaking.
The book breaks it down into two main categories: managing external distractions and managing internal distractions.
External distractions, I
Yeah.
get it. It's like all the noise of our modern world, the constant
No.
notifications, the lure of social media, the never-ending to-do lists,
Right. It's like we're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation.
and it's exhausting.
It is. And it makes it really hard to focus on anything, let alone something as demanding as creative work.
Okay, so that's external distractions. What about internal distractions?
Those are the ones that come from within, you know?
Okay, like what?
Like self-doubt, anxiety, fear of failure, that inner critic that's constantly telling us we're not good enough.
Oof, I know that voice all too well.
Yeah.
It can be so loud sometimes.
It can. And the book argues that these internal distractions can be even more debilitating than the external ones because they prevent us from even getting started.
It's like we're our own worst enemies sometimes.
Exactly. And the book offers some great techniques for quieting those inner critics.
Okay, like what?
Well, it talks about mindfulness meditation, deep breathing exercises, even just taking a few minutes to disconnect from technology and reconnect with nature.
It's like giving our brains a break from all the noise and stimulation.
Exactly. It's about creating those mental pauses, those moments of stillness where we can actually hear ourselves think.
I love that. So mindfulness is one technique. What else does the book suggest?
It also talks about the importance of establishing creative routines.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before. Like making time for creativity even when you don't feel inspired.
Right. It's about making it a habit, not just something you do when the mood strikes.
So like setting aside a specific time each day to write, paint, brainstorm, whatever your creative outlet is.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a huge chunk of time. Even just 15, 20 minutes can make a difference.
The important thing is to be consistent.
Exactly. And then the book goes even deeper into this idea of creating the conditions for creativity to flow.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, it talks about Mahali's concept of flow. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, flow state. It's like that feeling of being totally absorbed in what you're doing, where
Yeah.
time seems to disappear and you're just completely in the zone.
Exactly.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the book argues that cultivating that creative space is essentially about creating the conditions for flow to occur.
So it's not just about having a nice desk and a fancy notebook. It's about setting yourself up mentally and emotionally.
Right. It's about eliminating distractions, setting clear goals for your creative sessions, and finding activities that challenge you just enough to keep you engaged, but not so much that you get overwhelmed.
That makes sense. It's like finding that sweet spot where you're pushing yourself creatively, but not putting so much pressure on yourself that you freeze up.
Exactly. And then the book also encourages us to embrace playfulness in our creative process.
Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
It reminds us that creativity thrives on exploration, experimentation, and even a little bit of silliness, like when we were kids.
I think that's something we often lose as adults.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in being serious and productive that we forget how to just play.
Right. And the book suggests activities like doodling, playing with different art supplies, even just taking a walk in nature and letting your mind wander.
It's about giving yourself permission to be curious, to make a mess, to try things just for the fun of it.
Exactly. And then even when we're doing all the right things, creating that space, embracing playfulness, sometimes we still hit those creative roadblocks.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. Staring at a blank page, feeling completely uninspired. What does the book say about overcoming those creative blocks?
It has a whole section on sparking creativity. It encourages us to challenge conventional thinking, to question assumptions, to look for inspiration in unexpected places.
Like, don't be afraid to try something new.
Right. Step outside of your comfort zone. And it also emphasizes the importance of diversifying our sources of inspiration.
So like, don't just stick to your usual sources. Branch out, explore new genres, talk to people from different backgrounds.
Exactly. It's about exposing yourself to a wider range of ideas and perspectives.
I love that. And what about when you're feeling really stuck? Like you've tried everything and nothing's working.
The book suggests taking creative breaks.
Like just walk away from the project.
Exactly. Sometimes the best way to solve a creative challenge is to stop thinking about it for a while.
I've definitely found that to be true. When I'm feeling stuck, going for a walk, listening to music, or even just taking a nap can help me come back to the problem with fresh eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the book also encourages us to surround ourselves with a supportive community.
Oh, that's so important. Having people who believe in you and your creative vision can make all the difference.
Absolutely. It's about connecting with people who encourage our creativity and who can provide feedback and encouragement along the way.
And that support system doesn't have to be limited to people in your immediate circle, right?
No, not at all. The book encourages us to seek out online communities, workshops, and mentorships that align with our creative interests.
It's about building a network of support, both online and offline, that can help us stay motivated, inspired, and accountable to our creative goals.
Exactly. So if we were to distill the essence of part two, it's really about recognizing that creativity isn't some mystical force reserved for a select few. It's a skill that can be cultivated, nurtured, and unleashed through intentional practices and a playful mindset.
And it's about creating that space, both internally and externally, where our creative potential can truly blossom. And when we tap into that creative energy, we not only enrich our own lives, but we also have the power to inspire and uplift others.
Exactly. And that brings us to part three of the book, which explores how this creative energy can transform us into leaders who inspire, empower, and create a ripple effect of positive change in the world.
Okay, so we've explored self-discovery, we've tapped into our creative potential, and now we're diving into the final frontier, leading with originality. I'm really curious to see how the book ties all of this together.
This is where it all comes full circle. The book makes this really compelling argument that true leadership isn't about titles or positions. It's about something much deeper.
It's about inspiring others,
Yeah.
right? Like helping them find their own unique voice and make a difference in the world.
Exactly. It's about empowering others to step into their own authenticity and create something meaningful.
I love that. So how does the book define authentic leadership? What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, one of the key qualities it highlights is vulnerability.
Vulnerability. As a leader, really, I always thought leaders were supposed to be, strong and confident and always have the answers.
That's the traditional model, right? But this book challenges that notion. It argues that being willing to show vulnerability, to admit when you don't know something, to ask for help, to share your own struggles, actually makes you a more effective leader
Hmm, that's interesting. Why is that?
because it makes you more relatable.
Mm,
It shows people that you're human, that you're not perfect,
hmm
and that creates a sense of trust and connection.
I can see that. It's like saying, hey, I don't have all the answers, but let's figure this out together.
Exactly. It creates a more collaborative environment where people feel safe to share their own ideas and take risks.
Because they know it's okay to not be perfect.
Right. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels comfortable being themselves and learning from their mistakes.
Okay, so vulnerability is one quality. What other qualities does the book emphasize?
Another big one is communicating your values clearly and consistently.
So letting people know what you stand for. What principles guide your decisions?
Exactly. It's about being transparent about your beliefs and your motivations
And why is that so important for authentic leadership?
because it helps people understand where you're coming from. It builds trust and it attracts people who share your values.
It's like creating a magnet for like-minded individuals.
Exactly. And when you have a team of people who are all aligned with a common purpose, it creates a powerful force for positive change.
So it's not just about leading. It's about building a community.
Absolutely. The book really emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with a supportive network of people who understand your aspirations, who challenge you to grow, and who provide encouragement along the way.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders and coaches in your corner.
Exactly. And the book encourages us to be intentional about cultivating these relationships, to seek out mentors and peers who inspire us and who can help us stay accountable to our goals.
Because leadership is not a solo sport.
Right. We all need support to thrive.
Okay, so we've talked about vulnerability, communicating your values, building a supportive community. What about all those distractions that inevitably pop up when we're trying to lead?
The book addresses that too. It reminds us that distractions come in both external and internal forms.
Okay, so external distractions are the obvious ones, right? The overflowing inboxes, the constant meetings, the never-ending to-do list.
Exactly. And then internal distractions are those mental and emotional states that can derail us.
Like self-doubt and anxiety and that inner critic that's always telling us we're not good enough.
Precisely. And the book offers strategies for managing both types of distractions.
Okay, so for external distractions, what's the antidote?
It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing tasks, learning to delegate effectively.
So it's about creating systems and structures that help us stay focused and on track.
Exactly. And for internal distractions,
What's the solution there?
The book encourages us to cultivate mindfulness practices like meditation, deep breathing exercises, journaling.
It's about calming the mind and connecting with our inner peace.
Right, and it's about recognizing that we're not going to be perfect all the time.
That we're all works in progress.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that it's okay to make mistakes as long as we learn from them.
It's about embracing the journey.
Absolutely. So if we were to sum up this final part of the original mindset, it's really about recognizing that authentic leadership is not about control or authority. It's about inspiring others through our own vulnerability, our clear sense of purpose, and our willingness to embrace the unexpected.
It's about creating a ripple effect, a positive change in the world, starting with ourselves and extending outward to our families, our communities, our organizations.
And it's about recognizing that we all have the potential to lead in our own unique way.
That's such a powerful message. So to everyone listening out there, remember to embrace your unique voice. Tap into your creative potential and lead with originality.
The world needs your authentic self.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the original mindset. Embrace, innovate, and lead. We hope you found this exploration insightful and inspiring. And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of personal growth and transformation.